So my session will be transforming your working flow and teaching practice with Teams. Before starting the session, a little bit about myself. My name is Laurent Carlier and I come from France. I'm a former teacher and I work as an educational technology consultant since 6 years. I work today for Digiteam, a company based in France, and we help educational institutions in the adoption of Office 365 education and tablet devices by providing different services like licensing, cloud deployment, tablet devices, and change management. Before I start to my session, I just want to cut my camera because I'm not sure about my internet connection. Let me see, just cut it off. Okay. Okay, then I go back to my session. So the first thing I will want to share with you is why Teams and Office 365 for education. Well, there is many reasons, and the main are better communication, better collaboration, and better creativity. And these three characteristics are major in 21st century skills, and Office 365 and Teams really fit with that. I share you a nice infographic by Tracy van der Schiff. I don't know how it pronounced, but maybe it's this. You can find a great blog in this address, and she explains us the digital literacy skills with Microsoft Office 365. And you can see there is a lot of possibility inside the platform with the inside tools to develop creativity, to develop communication, information, collaboration, e-safety, etc., etc. So Teams, since the arrival of Teams, it really helped me to focus on more communication and collaboration into my classroom. So what is Teams for education? Well, it is the hub where everything is centralized. Inside Teams, you can share and work in collaboration with PowerPoint, with Word, with Excel. You can manage your teaching resource in OneNote. You can do some evaluation with forms. Plus, you can add really cool third-party tools that I will show you after, like Flipgrid, Colette, Quizlet, Poly, and also you can add different website, and it's very good if you want to share some website article. And Teams is accessible online, is accessible on a desktop version, and it's also accessible on the app version. And that is very great because you can find a lot of context in educational institution where you have only share PC rooms, or you have one-on-one tablet deployment, or you have BYOD deployment. And with these three educational contexts, you can use Teams, and that is very great if you want to focus more on this utilization. So what's the difference between Teams education and Teams businesses? Well, the first difference is about architecture. You have, when you create a team class, and we'll see it just after this, you have the chat, the class chat. This is common with business. You have the class files. This is also common for business, but you have the class notebooks, and it's different for the business one, because in the class notebooks, you have really different parts like content library, collaboration space, and portfolio, and you don't have it with the OneNote business. And you have the assignments, and you will see it. This is really particular for the education. And you can also add tabs. And when you create a Teams, you have basically 4 types of teams. You can create a class teams. You can create a PLC, a professional learning community, that help teachers to share resources. You can also create a staff team, and you can also create some club or society teams. So let's see how it works exactly. So when I'm connected in my Teams, you have this interface, and it is also different because I think you don't have it in business version. This is called grid view, and with this grid view, it's really great because I can see all my teams right there. I can filter my classes. If I want to find some classes teams, I check this. If I want to find some PLC teams, I check this. And the staff teams, for example, this one, staff teams. This is all my staff teams, class teams. This is all my class teams. And obviously we can just switch back with the old version. And I think for the business one is this one, right? But I really prefer the new one, because with the new one, okay, with the new one, I can order my teams like this. If I work better on class 4 bis, then I will put it in the first. And if I don't work anymore with the test class 3, then here I can hide it. And then to find my agent teams, I just check there and I can find all of my teams. So basically, let's jump in a class teams and I will show you different things. So this is an example for the class 4C. And as you can see, I have my conversation, my chat, the files, and the class notebook. I will directly jump to the class notebooks and I will show you some very interesting things. I explained it just before. So when I open my class notebooks here, I have 3 different parts. I have my contents library where teachers can put the resources. Teachers can modify, can delete, but students can only view it. So it's very great to gather resources, your teaching resources. I will show you some example. This is the class for French languages and grammar. And I put here an example of my lessons about imparfait. And I can also insert some quizzes made by Quizlet about the cinemas, for example. I can also put some exercise, and this kind of exercise I can assign it to my students, and you already see all the list of my students right there. This is the portfolio of my students, and I can see all of my students' portfolio, but one student can only see his own portfolio. So this is very great if I want to share some feedback with my students. And I will check, maybe I have some example. I'm not sure about it, but let me see. Who was this student? Actually, just a second. If I don't find it, I will go back it later. Oh, no, it was this one. Just okay. Maybe this is this one. Let me see. Yeah, for example, this one, it was an exercise about past tense in French languages, and my students, Sophie, I think it's Sophie. Yeah, Sophie wrote me a text about it, and I put some really interesting stickers to focus on the heroes. She made it. For example, here there's something missing, and this one is not. It is a tense error. She didn't make the right conjugation of the verbs. So this is very great if you want to have a real feedback with your students. Or maybe there is another one like this. This is Julie, and she also gave me her answer, and she had many errors. So with my digital pen, I just focus on her errors. So this is very great. It's very great if you want to have individual feedback in your students' works. So let's go back to to the teams. So the files, the notebooks, the assignment. The assignment is also very great. For example, I have this one. So I gave an assignment for my students, and I can see already who turned the assignment and who did not turn the assignments. So if I check Sophie, and it was a writing assignment, so I can read the assignment. I can put the points. If I want to put the points, I can enter feedback, and it's very great for this. And if I go back to the assignment, I can also see all the assignment I already graded, like this one, return with the points. So this is very nice. So basically in a general channel, you have the chat, the files, the class notebook, the assignments. And the nice thing is that you can add some tabs, and maybe you are familiar with it. If you use the business version, you had a really different kind of tabs. And for me, in a general version, I had a private video channel for my classes. And in this video channel, I gather all the video, I use it with my students, and it's very great to do this. And I do this with Microsoft Stream. Maybe you're familiar with it because you can find it in the Office 365 platform. And I made this, the channel video for the class 4C, and only the member of class 4C can see the video. So it's very good to gather that. And I also add a bot called Poly. And basically this Poly is also very good if you want to make some quick poll, and if you want to ask students about their hobby, for example. You can just add this poll. And for example, I made a poll, and the question was, when you were young, what kind of job would you like to do? And there was pilot, doctor, etc., etc. And my students answered directly in the poll, so I have the answer right there. And all the poll I created in the general chat version, I can find it right there. This is a dashboard that gather all my polls, so it's very good if you want to focus on some kind of interaction with your students and polls. So you have it in a general channel. If you have some question, please don't hesitate to ask me on the chat. Do you have it or not? Okay, just go back in my presentation. So you have the general channel, and below this you can add different kind of channel, and there is no specific rules to do this. It really depends on your teaching practice. It can be by subject, it can be by semester, it can be by years. It really depends on what you're doing. For myself, I did some channels with some subject. This is the writing skills. This is the phonetic skills. This is the vocabulary skills, and this is for video. And I will show you some pretty interesting things. I will start with the writing skills. And in the writing skills, I had a tab, and this tab was a PowerPoint, and I just wanted to let my students explain me the difference between the two past tense in French, which is passé composé and imparfait. And it was like just some kind of flip learning. I didn't tell them directly the difference between those past tense, and I asked them directly here. So tell me the difference between those past tense. Can you guess it? And all my students just answer me. And it was very great because there was some kind of interaction between them inside the classroom and outside the classroom. And I just let them some one day or 2 days guessing what was the difference. And after that, we came back in the classroom and we just discuss about it. And it was very great to focus on this kind of interrogation. And I also had another things that is Colette. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Colette is a free curation tool where you can save articles, video, image, etc. And I will show you one thing. For example, here. Search. Okay. And it was there. And it was basically what were the difference between cities and countryside. And I work with my students to gather some kind of information. And it's very good because when you edit a collection, it's called a collection, you can add different things. I will show you. You can add an URL, you can add text, some YouTube video if you have it. You can add images, PDF, and also flipgrid. I will show you flipgrid just after this. And once you're done, the nice thing is that you have two solutions if you want to put it on Microsoft Teams. You can add it directly there with a tab, and I can find it in this long list. Where is it? Oh, here. You can add it directly here. And you can also add it directly in Teams with that button, with share button. And when you click in share button and add into Microsoft Teams, then you can add it directly in the channel. So it's good because there is some kind of integration between Teams and third-party tools. And I really recommend it if you want to work with your students on collection of resources, where you can curate some different kind of resources like text, video, and pictures. Well, it is a great tool. It is a great tool. The second channel I created was the phonetics, and the phonetics is very great because maybe you have already heard about a nice tool in Office 365 that calls Immersive Reader, and I will show you basically how it works. Let me see this one. So this is a text in French, and I'm in a OneNote, and in OneNote you have the Immersive Reader function right there. And when I launch it, I have different kind of nice option. I can have a different text size, but this is not the good. Well, it is good for students who have some difficulties to read the text, but the nice one is this one. You have some kind of option where you can focus on nouns, verbs, adjective, adverbs. For example, nouns in purple, verbs in red, adjectives in green, etc., etc. And you can read the text. If I put play, then they will read the text. And you have also some kind of picture dictionary. So it works, for example, this one. If I don't know the meaning of pays in French, then it can give you some hint, some clue to guess the meaning. But if you want to translate it directly, for example, in English, and if I put all the documents, then it will translate all my documents. So you have the text in English, and I can switch back in French, English. You see, it's very great, and students can also read make the voice read it, and by changing the voice speed, and it is a good function, and it's very great because with that students can really work at their own pace on the phonetic, on the right spelling of words and phrases. So it is a great tool. So phonetics, and beside this I have some kind of vocabulary, and in vocabulary I also add another tab that is great to do this, and it is called MindMaster. I don't know if you know MindMaster. It is a tool to make some mind mapping, and you can find it in a list. I can find it, but it is obviously there. You have Mindono. It is quite the same, but yeah, you can find it in a list. I can find it right now, and basically how it works, I just create a mind map, and it was the past tense. What was your past habits when you were young? And I just put this is in the middle, and my student just add some bubbles and to just tell me, well, what was the past habits. So I played football, and I ate candies, I read mangas, etc., etc. And I can see here, this is my students, you know, with this is Sophie, and this is David, etc., etc. So it is good also to really work on a collaborative project. And I can do this, and my students also can do this. They don't need to create an account because it is already linked with their Office 365 account. So this is very great to write in a different ways in collaborative by using mind maps. And finally, you have the video production. And if I want my students to record themselves, there is a nice tool that is called Flipgrid. It is basically a video platform, and it is free. And students and teachers can already use it by using their Office 365 education account. And it is like this. So this is my class, and I asked them to just introduce themselves by giving 3 different things about what they like or where they live, etc., etc. And then all my students just record themselves, you know, in their home, in the class, etc., etc. And I can have all the answer, and I can listen to them. So it's very nice, and it's very easy to use it. Just click on the plus sign, and then you can record the video. It is good. Flipgrid, it is a very nice tools. Do you have some question? Just go back there. Teams for Education is free for use, or does it have a monthly cost? No, it is free. Teams Education doesn't require any paid licensing. The difference between the basic use of Teams, that is really enough. This is the one I show you. The licensing, the pay licensing will be, for example, if you want to create some live events. The live events is like this one. We just use a live events to do this webinar. So if you want to use the live events, yeah, you have to have at least A3 education licensing. But most of the schools I know, most of teachers I know that is using Teams, they don't have any kind of paid licensing, and it's free. You can use it very easily. So I go back to my presentation. I will show you just 2 more things. Let me see. Présentation. Teams. What was the? Where was the? Just a second. I will switch on the view. Okay. Okay, just a second. And to go to the slide, I want to. Okay, then I will show you some really nice things, cool things since this year's, and there was some kind of really great improvements. The read-only folder, the import OneNote, the share to Teams, and the announcement. I will show you this right there. The read-only folder, you can find it when you create a class Teams. Into files, you have class materials, and basically what's the difference between class materials and all the files you put in? It is very simple. If you click it, there is some explanation. Students can read these files, but only teachers can edit. And it was a very massive demand for educators and teachers, because the things that can happen when you use class team with students, is that when you put files right there, if it is, for example, a Word or PowerPoint or Excel, it is students can write on it, right? If you want to restrict the rules, then you can do this if you switch on SharePoint, but SharePoint is, for me, it's some kind of difficult to understand how to restrict some rules. So you have the class materials, and the class materials, if you put some files right there, you know that students will only read it and not change it or delete it or modify it. So it is a nice thing, and you don't have it in your business version. So that was the first one, the read-only folders. The second one was the oh, I forgot. Sorry for this inconvenience. What was the second? Oh, the import OneNote share to tips. Okay. The second one was the when you create a class Teams, for example, this one, then you have the class notebook, and when you create a class notebook, for example, this one, the setup OneNote class notebook, you have this nice option with from existing notebook contents and not starting from blank notebook. And what is the main reason for this? Because Teams is really new, and before that, teachers already have the only OneNote, the class notebook, and they use it very massively. And when Teams arrived, the question was, okay, I have already my class notebooks. Can I import directly into Teams? And when Teams started, the answer was no, you can do this. You have to start it from A. And it was very, some kind of difficult thing for teachers to really adopt Teams. And this year, they just give us this option, and it's very nice because you can directly import the whole class notebook you have, so you don't just start from blank, you just import it. So that is good. And a share to Teams, I already talked about it, but I will show you one thing about this. Let me see, I will just put it right there in general. I don't know if some of you already know this tool, Kahoot. Kahoot is basically some kind of quiz game, and it's very popular among educators. And when you create a Kahoot, for example, this one, you can play it directly into class, but if you want each student to walk by their own pace on this Kahoot, you have the challenge option right there. And when you click on challenge, for example, you set up a date, and then you have this option, share to teams. And basically when I click on this button, it opens a new windows. And with this new windows, I have two options if I want to share it in a channel or if I want to create directly an assignment. I will just share it in a channel, and I will just find my classes. For example, this one, and then share. Okay, done. Just go back to my team classes, and I have it right there in the channels. So students, if they want to play the quiz, they just click on the link and they can play at their own pace the quiz. So it is very great. It is a nice thing. The third was the announcement. When you use a lot of conversation, you have this button, announcement. And when you click it, you have some kind of, for example, you can put some next Saturday event. Oops. Next Saturday event. And for example, you want to communicate the program and you write the program, etc., etc. And when you put it on the conversation, then there is a specific, interface that will really attract the attention of students. Okay, this is important, and yeah, okay, I will find it just really easily the information about the events. So the announcement, I think announcement is always in it is also in a business version, and if you use Teams every day with the business version, maybe you know this option. Obviously, you know this option. And there is two more things that are really expected for educators, and we still have no answer from Microsoft. I know Microsoft is really working on it, but it is a huge expectation. The first one is private channels, and if you are in a business, I know you also waiting for this option, the private channels. Basically, if you want to add a channels with a project and all your students in your classroom work in the same project, it's not a good thing if you put a channel with project, because maybe the team A and team B can copy ideas. So that's why it's very good if you can create a channel and restrict this channel for some kind of students. And it's really awaiting the private channels. And the second thing is the disable one-on-one chat for students. And what is the one-on-one chat? You can find it right there. And this is a private chat, and if you don't disable it for students, then there is some kind of risk of cyberbullying. And I know a lot of schools that told me that no, they will not use Teams unless you can, disable it. So I know Microsoft is also working on it, but there is a huge expectation of this, and since we can disable it, there will be some kind of trouble with adoption of Microsoft Teams. So that was the coolest things, and I will just end with some great question when you start using Microsoft Teams in education. Maybe you have the same question if you work for businesses, but the first step is like, do you really need a team for that? And it is a huge question, because I know a lot of teachers, when they discover teams, they just created teams, you know, for no reason. Like for example, Saturday event, next Saturday event. Do we need a team to collaborate on next Saturday event? The answer will be no. No, you don't need a team for this. You just share a folder in OneDrive, and it will be enough. You know, who can create a team? And it's very an important question. If you have to disable students to create teams, because if you do not do this, then students will create, you know, massive teams, and it will be very difficult for admin staff to track it. What difference between private and public teams? And you have to understand it, because when you create a teams, for example, if I go back here, create a team, create teams, this one, the class, or maybe another one. Don't know if I have it. You have this one, you know, private, public, and you have. It is important to know the difference, because if you click on public, then everyone in your organization will be able to join the team. So it is not good to do this. So you have to think about it. So the difference between public and private. And the third thing is, let me see. Okay. Is there a naming policy? That is always great to ask before creating a teams. Every educators should have the same naming policy for the teams. Is there a way to automatically create a teams for each course? And the answer is yes. You can do this with a nice tools that is called School Data Sync, and it's very specific for education. And the second part is understand the team files vs the personal files, because you know that in Teams files, everyone can write on the files, and it's not the same for the personal files. The Teams vs group chat, and it's the same reason for do you really need a team for that? The third is where are my file stores? And you know, it's kind of difficult. The conversation is stored in Exchange, and the other is stored in another part. So you have to really be careful about this. And the define, the third part is that, is there a retention policy? If you want your teams to be deleted after a certain period, and I recommend it to really think about it. Is there an expiry policy? It is the same, basically it is the same thing that the retention policy. And do I need to archive it? And also this is very an expectation for schools and educators, and you have to archive all the resources you made with students. So yes, you can archive it with Teams. You can do it very easily with the administration portal. So that was the good question that you have to ask yourself before starting Teams education. So that's it. It is my 40 minutes. Thanks for attending. I will just